Morning Crosswalk. It's Pastor Jeff here. Morning Crosswalk. It's Pastor Jeff here. It's great to see all of you this morning. Thanks for joining us. As you just heard from the echo, I've got my capable assistant Julie with me here this morning, and now that she's got her sound turned off, we can begin with Pastor on the Patio. I'm so glad that you've joined us. Looks like we've got a good number joining us this morning. That is great. So I want to emphasize that we're doing these Pastors on the Patio because we want to be available to answer whatever questions you might have. So I'm going to strongly encourage you as I get started. I have a few things to say to introduce today's session of Pastor on the Patio. But at the same time, our favorite thing and the thing that we most want is to be able to share answers to whatever questions, give you the information you're seeking, especially in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's created a lot of disruption. I think that we're starting to get it a little bit, but it's still a work in progress. So with that introduction, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the questions that we've been getting, not on Sunday mornings, but at other times as well. First of all, children's ministry. Want to make sure you're aware that on our website, we've got lots of children's ministry materials for you. So make sure you go to our website and get connected to what's going on there with Crosswalk Kids. There are links on the Crosswalk Kids page that allow you to download materials that you can use for great Bible-based activities for your children. So make sure you do get those. I also, talking about children's ministry and the great Easter egg hunt effort they led for us, I want to thank Andrea and Noel and their team. There were a number of them working together to make that Easter egg hunt work. And oh man, when we were told that people had found over 100 Easter eggs around the community, we were pretty excited to hear that people were out and about and searching for those Easter eggs. And congratulations to our winners. I also want to talk a little bit about how we're doing financially. A number of questions that have come in have been about Crosswalk's finances, and are we doing okay? Are we receiving offerings, and how are things going basically? And I want you to be confident and reassured that we're doing just great right now. God has been good to us. You are members, because Crosswalk, after all, is a member-supported church. You've been very generous during this time, and I know that that's the case in the middle of a time when a number of you have lost your jobs, when you are seeking unemployment, where the government's stimulus check means a lot to you. And we've said it repeatedly, but I want to say it again today. Our hearts go out to everyone who not only are medically impacted by this, but those who are financially impacted. And we are praying for you. We want you to know that you're in our hearts and on our minds. That being said, a number of you are resourced and are giving generously, and we thank you for that. We have last month, we just ended our March financial month and reported to the board yesterday. And I can tell you that our income exceeded our expenses. So that's always a good sign. Of course, part of that right now is that we're not paying rent at either of our locations. So that helps. Offerings were, in fact, a bit down from normal, but so were expenses. And so that helped us tremendously. And so we got a great response from that. And I've got a little mosquito who wants to bother me. And so financially, things are going great. Some of you have asked, did Crosswalk apply for the PPP loan, the Payment Protection Program loan? And in fact, we did. And so that is going to help us a bit in the coming months in case things do financially get even more difficult. So just wanted all of you to have an update. Please continue with your generosity to the Lord and to your church. These funds go for a great cause, which is to help the gospel get out to you, to the members of our community, and to the world. You heard Pastor Dan this morning greet the people that are part of our congregation, part of our work, our gospel outreach work in Maputo, Mozambique. And they've been joining us since we've been live streaming and on Facebook Live and here on YouTube Live. So it's the gifts and the offerings that you give us are helping us do that, help us reach people with the gospel that otherwise would not know about Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. So thank you again for your generosity. The second question that we've been asked quite frequently is, how are you guys doing with all this technology change? And there's been a lot. I will say that. Just to review, in the past month, we have put our services online, not on one platform, not on two platforms, but on 3 separate platforms. And oh my goodness, I just want to publicly thank Stephen Millerman for his and his team's efforts. This morning's music was beautiful, and we can see upgrades and things all around. And so our teams, and I can't really, this goes to our entire Crosswalk staff. Our staff has worked so hard to make sure that we could still provide the word of God to you, get the gospel to you, keep talking to you about Jesus. And all of them, I can't thank them enough. And that goes in this realm, particularly for our worship arts teams, our staff, our dedicated volunteers. And yeah, from me, from Pastor Dan, from Pastor Chris, from our entire staff, we extend our thank you to those dedicated volunteers. And so Stephen is having ongoing conversations with those who are on his teams, and we're going to continue to make 1%, 2% improvements as we go along each week, and you'll begin to notice those. And I think you probably saw some of those today. And so if you saw some improvements today that you enjoyed, one fun thing that we could do on the live feed right now is just create a list of things that you're appreciating about the live feed. And if you have suggestions for improvements, we welcome those too, of course. And so we want to know, what are the things that we're doing via technology that you found helpful. That'll help guide us into the future about what else we should do. Let me just review some other technology changes, however, that we've undertaken in the last month that you may or may not be aware of. So number one, all our groups, every one of them has moved onto Zoom, the Zoom platform. And I believe Pastor Dan said yesterday we have over 20 groups and classes meeting via Zoom. And I'm not sure that some of them are going to go back, because I think they're liking it. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens after this whole thing is done. But groups are meeting, and they're enjoying fellowship and community, connecting with each other. You know, at Crosswalk, we're big about making sure that our members can connect with one another.
Dan says 22 groups.
22. Thank you, Dan. And so those connections are happening via Zoom. Let me just encourage you, if you're not on Zoom, if you're not in a group, you need to be. Right now is a time where we want you to be connected to us. We want to know how you're doing. We want to know how we can pray for you. And so please just go to crosswalkphoenix.com, or better, our new address, cwlk.church. And then on the nav bar in the top, there is a link for Grow. If you click on that, you'll see how to get to groups, and that will lead you into a menu of all of our groups. And so please consider at least taking the step of looking over those groups and seeing if there isn't one there that you could join and then be connected to other Crosswalk members.
Suzanne would like to encourage us to continue doing online service even when we can get back together. So
Suzanne, thank you for that. We love you, Suzanne. Yes, we are planning to continue with online worship and with live streaming our worship. Let me talk a little bit about that since you asked that question. Right now, we're thinking of things in 3 phases. So while we're still sort of in this stay-at-home order from the governor, at least for now, and this could change any day now, our plan is to continue to record our services from homes, mainly because we don't want to unnecessarily gather too many people together, not just because we don't want to have people in worship together, but even the production crew. We can probably make it happen for under 10 people, but it gets quite a few people together in the same room. The way that we're doing it now has limited people in the same room to 3, 4, 5, and that seems to be more in line with our governor's order and more protective of our members. So that's why we've been doing that. Another reason is we just wanted there to be at this point kind of an intimate feel to our worship services, and so that's that. That's phase 1. Phase 2 will be when things open up a little bit, hopefully in the next week or 2. We'll go back to ALA very likely and begin a production there at Arizona Lutheran Academy. It will not be open to the public at that point. We'll be just having our production team there, and we'll go back to there. Our equipment is better there. Our technology is better there. We have a stage. We can just do more in terms of set, lighting, sound, if we're at least operating not out of our normal home, but it is our original home at Arizona Lutheran Academy. So that would be phase 2. And then we're working with both school districts to determine what they're thinking about when they might let us back in at Cesar Chavez and at Camel View Elementary in Midtown. So know that as soon as we have a date, we'll pass that along to you. But those are the 3 phases. Eventually, we'll move back into Chavez. Eventually, we'll move back into Madison Camel View, and we'll be operating once again as we normally have, with the addition of the stream, which will come from our service in Levine. So I don't know, is that, hopefully that answers Suzanne's question. So. And thank you for that great question, Suzanne. Are there any other questions right now?
Josh is wondering if having Pastor Dan preach is considered an improvement. Joshua
Fox. It's a huge improvement. Are you kidding me, Joshua?
And Michelle Olson wanted you to share a little bit about your story. What made you decide to be a Christian and a pastor?
Oh, wow. All right. All right. So let me just share my own personal story. So I grew up here in Phoenix. I was born in Northern California in the Bay Area. But my folks moved us here when I was 4 years old because my mom had family here. And that's what got us here to Phoenix. My mom and dad were the best way I can describe them is they were party people. That's how they met in the first place, and they continued their partying lifestyle for quite a long time into my childhood. And so even though both of them had been raised in a Christian home, neither of them were practicing Christians. The one thing that did happen when I was still an infant, and this is an encouragement to all of you to get your babies baptized, get your children baptized, is my grandma, a very devout Christian woman, when I was born in Oakland, California, insisted that my mom and dad drive me as an infant, a newborn, from Oakland to Louisiana, where she lived in a small Louisiana town named Montgomery. And that's where I was baptized. I have my baptism certificate from a little country church there. I was not baptized a Lutheran, I was baptized a Methodist. But of course, after my baptism, I believe God never forgot about me. At that point, of course, I'm his child. And he clearly showed himself to be pretty relentlessly pursuing me after that. So we came back, we settled in Phoenix, and I wasn't taken to church. My faith was not watered or fed. And so, of course, I grew up without knowing anything. I had an uncle that sent me a children's Bible, and I did eventually read through that. And then finally, when I was in 8th grade, a basketball buddy and I, he had moved into my neighborhood in the Sunny Slope area of Phoenix, and he invited me to church. We spent a lot of hours together playing basketball, and so I think he felt like he had an in with me, and I got invited to a church, and this time it was a Lutheran church in Scottsdale. And in that family, the mom played the organ in church every Sunday, and the whole family was deeply involved with that church. So it took about 3 years, and I could go a lot more depth into that. But after 3 years, and then finally taking a confirmation class for youth, very similar to the confirmation class for youth that Phil leads, then I became a Christian when I was a sophomore in high school. And then shortly after that, I met my beautiful assistant over here. There she is, at a summer camp. And we fell in love. I think I fell first, but we fell in love. And at that point, I decided I was going to go to a school and begin to prepare to become a pastor, which was not at all what I had in mind. So I did that, and my desire to be a pastor just grew stronger over my years in school. And eventually I graduated, and my first assignment was to Zambia. So hopefully that's a rather lengthy answer to that question, but hopefully you all know me a little bit better now. Do you have any details you want to add to that?
I'm just saying, you're so old, there's a lot to tell.
Yes. Yes, there's plenty to tell. Are there other questions?
Yes, while I was reviewing up above, I missed one down below. Ruth was wondering, and I think this applies to eventually getting back into the schools. She wanted to know, when is eventually? Paul Druitt's answered, I don't think they can know, because each school district has their own decisions to make. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, that's correct. We really are at the mercy of the school districts, each of them, to determine what they think is safe. And so we don't know, Ruth, and it's a great question. I wish I had more information right now. The best I can tell you right now, tell everyone right now, is we are monitoring it. We are in touch with the officials who will let us know when we can go back in, and we've been keeping that connection strong, because we're obviously we're pretty psyched to get back together physically when we can. Of course, safely. All through this, we've had a little mantra that we've used. We want people to be safe and we want people to be saved. And that mantra has guided everything that we've tried to do as we balance those two principles of being safe and being saved. Any other questions, or should I? Okay, so
No.
I had one other point that I wanted to respond to. The third and really kind of the final question that we've been getting, unless I know Dan, I think Phil may be on here. If you guys have other softball questions you want to lob up that I can try to answer, feel free. But the third and final question we've been asked is, what's happening with our capital campaign and our building on 59th Avenue and Baseline in Laveen? And we want you to know that we have some very positive developments along those lines. The Baseline Corridor Development Project is now complete. There are a few ins and outs that we're still dealing with there. One of the biggest ones is trying to figure out where we're going to get, this is maybe a little bit too much detail for some of you, but where we're going to get a sewer line from. And we had originally thought that was going to come from Baseline, but the configuration of the development there won't allow that. Fortunately, we have a very big partner, the Lines Development Company, and some partners on our corner as well. And the current strategy is we're going to pull that down from Southern Avenue, which is the second closest place we could have gotten it from, and the cost won't be too great for doing that. So that's what's happening there. Then the Capital Fund Drive. That has the launch of the Capital Fund Drive, so that we can gather our down payment for our construction loan, has been postponed for obvious reasons. And so we will begin making announcements about when we'll relaunch that. Originally, we were hoping that we could publicly launch that campaign in the fall. And right now, we're working with our consultant, John Bennett, from a company called Generis. And he's giving us the benefit of his experience and his advice. And working with him, we will determine the new date for the public launch of the final phase of our campaign, which we may also retitle from Beyond Borders. I'm not gonna spoil any surprises, but this final phase may actually have a new name even. So we'll be back to you about all of that.
Okay, there's some questions about this food drive for Midtown. Some people were wondering about, could they just donate money instead of doing the shopping? There's a link to it with the directions, but Phil's answer here is that we're hoping people will purchase the items and deliver them so they can get the full volunteer experience. But you might want to describe that.
So we talked about this, and obviously, if you want to help with giving money, yes, we will accept that, and we can find people who will help do the shopping. That can happen. But what Phil answered in the sidebar is absolutely correct. Our hope and dream for this was that people would be willing to become more individually involved, use the list that Phil and Leon and his team have put together, do the shopping, and make the deliveries so that we can, well, our goal is to provide 50 food bags with the designated list. And if you want to know where you can find information about the list and all of that, crosswalk or cwlk.church/news. And you can go there, or just go to cwlk.church, and over in the right hand corner is a link to the news page, and you'll see there that there's an article all about the food drive.
Phil's reminding you this is how we use work to get people done.
Right. Phil's trying to hold me to our crosswalk values. Thank you, Phil. We're trying to use work to get people done. So obviously, that means the more you can be involved, the more you can even partner with others and do things as a team. We would love that.
There's also a little conversation about ministry teams moving online. I think some ministry teams are meeting online, but then others, there's not a whole lot happening because they usually do their work for Sunday mornings.
Correct. So whether or not ministry teams have moved online for their meetings really has been dependent on the urgency of their work, getting that done right now, their ability to do their work offline, sometimes separately. For example, our outreach teams have been knocking it out of the park during this time. Other areas of ministry and other teams have gotten a little bit more of a break. But if you have a question, if you're seeing things that you are wondering, how can we get this done even now and not wait? There doesn't need to be a delay. Let me encourage you to get in touch with your ministry team leader and do what we call it crosswalk leading up. And leading up is simply that when you report to someone and serve under them, one of the best ways that you can serve your leader is to help them see what you're seeing from the ground and to give them the information that you feel and encouragement to keep meeting and to keep getting things done. Anything else?
People are just funny. Any more blood drives? Didn't we have
we did have a blood drive, and again, go to I'm going to keep trying to encourage you strongly. Go to cwlk.church/news, and there you will find information on our next blood drive. If I give away the information, then I won't be able to get people to go to our website. And that's one of the big things that we're trying to do right now is really connect you to cwlk.church/news. And that's a great way to get and stay connected.
Okay.
We are at 28 minutes. I've got a little bit of time yet to give you some time to get a break if you haven't been yet to our worship services, and then make it into our 11 a.m. service. Maybe one other thing that I could say is at 9 a.m. you have 3 options for worship. We're encouraging strongly people to use our primary platform because it's the most robust platform with the most options for you, and that is cwlk.church, .online.church. CWLK, let me say that again, .online.church. But we are also streaming on YouTube Live in case you have any technology problems, or if that platform just works a little better for you, come and join us there. And then finally, we're also on Facebook. And the reason for 3 platforms is different platforms work better for different people. For example, the YouTube Live platform is easiest for our people overseas. In places like Mozambique, they can most easily connect with that platform of the 3.
Maybe a question for a future Pastor on the Patio. Ruth was wanting you to expand on how using work to get people done fulfills the purposes.
Oh, that is a great question. And Ruth, I promise I will, we're going to be having Pastor on the Patio every weekend, so keep joining us at 10:15 for Pastor on the Patio. And that is a fantastic question. I want to let people go for now and get to the 11 o'clock worship, or if they've been at the 9, get on with their day. But I will store that question, and that'll be one of the top questions I answer next week. And thanks for that question, Ruth.
I think we covered it.
All right. It looks like our time is out, and I always enjoy doing Pastor on the Patio with you. Thanks for joining us. And I absolutely love sharing what we're doing at Crosswalk. And once again, I want to say thank you to you for keeping on coming. Thank you to our amazing volunteers for all you have done to keep us rolling through this pandemic. And thank you to our amazing staff who have supported me personally throughout this, but have also worked very, very hard to support you all spiritually with the gospel during this. So thanks very much. God bless.